Let me ask a question. So, at the beginning of your response today, you mentioned the division. Something I want to talk about things that are actually real in the world. The division right now with African American communities and the Jewish communities, and you want to be a key part in like doing that bridge building, and I do support that. Just out of curiosity, I have heard people like Mordecai Chaya say when we do hear people like Kanye would be and people like that. Rather than sending them to the Holocaust Museum, why don't you send them to us where we could actually talk to them? Because are able to relate, like the same exact message you're saying, how you're able to relate and you're able to communicate and to speak to them for them to understand, which is I think what Judaism tells us to do, to speak to people for them to understand us. With that being said, do you agree with something like that? Maybe it would be more better to take people who are a higher caliber celebrity status, where if they do stuff like that, rather than sending them to a Holocaust museum, we actually do send them to a community which is thriving and is living the Jewish life that many people don't believe exists.
I mean, I think I think there's many ways to help, right? I mean, I think David made a pretty valid point that you have to look at the African American people and see that they were brought to America as slaves, and they were never told anything about their heritage and who they are, where they're from, and there's always been a spiritual connection amongst that community, amongst the African American community, and so they always had an attachment to God, right? And so for a lot of the African American communities, they are still searching for what that higher level of God means, and so and no one's helping them. Everyone's turning their back on them. No one's trying to reach out to give them information. No one's really there's no one um, around the world that are trying to help them. You know what I'm saying? And so um, so for me, I'm just being a little bit more kind to the point where I'm trying to give them some information about Torah on how that can help direct your life in a better space. And I'm sure there's ways where we can sort of find a way to, take them to certain places or communities where they can see how to properly live. Like I invite people over for Shabbat, so we can see how I make kiddush over the wine, and why I make the blessing over the bread, and why why we like counting before Shabbos. Then I go pray, if I go pray for RV, then I pray in the morning Shakrit. I'm up early learning, so they can just see what it means to be holy and what that entails. Because as of right now, no one has ever even gave them any sense of idea on what that means. So they're going off of what rhetoric comes up in the community and what someone may start to create and figure out what may seem to be true, and that seeming to be true space spreads around the community, and then it creates all hatred, or it creates rhetoric, it creates these negative connotations, and no one is there to help straighten them out or give them the information they need to understand. And I think that's been somewhat the space that the African American community is dealing with, and no one's trying to help them. And I felt like I don't want to be the guy to do this, but I'm like, all right, I'm African American, I'm Jewish, I made the change. I went the hard route by converting and going through living in Israel, living in Bnei Brak, and all these things. So I feel like it's important for me to try to give some information on how to straighten out their lives, and show them what it means to keep shadows properly, and what it means to say your bracha over your food and different items you're eating. How to say your blessing before reading Torah. All these things are imperative for someone who's searching for God to know, but no one's teaching them. No one's trying to help them.